This year is only on the first lap, but already we have some crazy price growth on some of these Canadian growth stocks. Hold on to your seatbelts, folks. This is going to be a good one. When 2024 is done, there will be those stocks that we wish we had jumped on back in January. Stocks with crazy returns that make the TSX look like a flat line. In theory, these stocks should already be making a splash. Thus, we are going to look for those waves and trace them back to see this year's winners ramping up for some serious profits. There should be no surprise that we are going to see stocks that we have already seen on this channel. For the most part, these are the stocks that keep coming up time and time again. In fact, two of them dominated my list last year, and this year is setting up to be a repeat for those two. I am sure many of you can guess which two stocks I am talking about. Let me know in the comments if you figured them out before we get to the list. Join today's conversation. Let me know in the comments your big winners thus far in 2024. Thank you for your participation. If you love this sort of content, be sure to subscribe for more. And another huge thank you for that click. In putting together this list, the big qualifier right out of the gate was their share price growth in 2024 from January 1st right up until the time of recording, so basically February 19th. In addition to that, I was also looking for a positive one-year return. I was not looking for companies that fell in 2023 and were rebounding from lows to create a sense of artificial growth. That qualifier eliminated a few companies for sure. Dividends were not a factor for this list, though most of the companies today do have some amount of dividends. Today's list is sorted by year-to-date share price growth. So without any further ado, let's do this. Kicking off this list, we have Decisive Dividend Corporation with a ticker of DE. They are based out of Kelowna, British Columbia, and they are an acquisition-oriented company that focuses on opportunities in manufacturing. Their portfolio includes exposure to health products, precision machining, steel and aluminum fabrication, industrial wear parts, agricultural sprayers, as well as merchandising and display systems. They have a price at the time of recording of $10.15. Their market cap comes in at $191.28 million. They have a beta that is just a little bit more volatile than the market average at 1.25. Their earnings per share come in at 0.36, and they have a price to earnings ratio of 28.19. That return on equity, that comes in at 14.77%, and their debt to equity ratio a little high, 102.11%. Switching to their dividends, they have a yield of 4.729%. It is a monthly dividend of 4 cents per share. The payout ratio on that a little high, 113.89%. When we look at their returns, on that 3-year return on investment, that comes in at 275.93%. Factor in the dividends, we get a total return of 307.41%. On the 1 year, their return on investment comes in at 97.47%. Factor in those dividends, we get a total return of 106.23%. Of course, we're interested in the year-to-date return, and their share price has grown so far this year by 23.18%. You can add the dividends and you will get a total return of 24.15%. That is absolutely awesome and a great way to start this list for sure. This is a stock that we have in the 0 to 100K challenge, and despite getting off to a rough start, they have stormed back and are now one of the top performers. Coming in at number 4, we have TerraVest Industries with a ticker of TVK. Based out of Vegreville, Alberta, they manufacture and sell a wide range of products and services to sectors such as energy, agricultural, mining, and transportation, primarily within North America. They have a price of $56.55, and their market cap comes in at $1.02 billion. Their beta, 0.67, so they're not as volatile as the market, that's for sure. When it comes to their earnings per share, that comes in at 2.60, and they have a price to earnings ratio of 21.75. On the return on equity, that comes in at a nice looking 23.89%. Their debt to equity ratio a little higher than I like to see, 149.19%. They do have a dividend. Their yield comes in at 1.061%. It's a quarterly dividend of 15 cents per share. Payout ratio super sustainable at 20.19%. When it comes to their return on investment for their 3-year, they come in at 227.83%. If we add in those dividends, we do get a total return of 235.65%. On the 1 year, their return on investment comes in at 109.52%. Add in the dividends, we get 117.47%. Their year-to-date in 2024 comes in at 28.20%. Factor in the dividends, we do get a total return of 28.54%. They do offer a very diverse range of products and services, and this diversity has worked out well for their overall market strategy and thus, of course, their share price. Taking our third spot, we have Hammond Power Solutions with a ticker of HPS.A. They are based out of Guelph, Ontario, and they specialize in designing, manufacturing, and selling transformers, primarily across Canada, the US, Mexico, and India. Their product range includes custom electrical magnetics, cast resin, and liquid-filled transformers. They have a current price of $105.54. Their market cap comes in at $1.26 billion. Once again, a pretty stable beta at 0.69, and their earnings per share come in at 5.17. They have a price to earnings ratio of 20.41, and their return on equity looks great at 32.36%. Debt to equity ratio, another really nice number, 14.88%. They have a dividend, not a huge dividend. Their yield comes in at 0.569%, and it is a quarterly dividend of 15 cents per share. That payout ratio, that comes in at 9.67%. So once again, super sustainable. Their return on investment, it's rare that we see four figures, but we're about to. Their 3-year return on investment was in at 1,068.77%. Factor in the dividends, we get 1,082.89%. Holy banana bread. That's just beyond cool. On their 1-year return on investment, that comes in at a very impressive 326.25%. Total return after we add in the dividends, 328.47%. Year to date, they have done 30.30%. They haven't received a dividend yet, so there's no real total return on that. Well, there is. It would still be 30.30%. This is one of those stocks I started talking about almost a year ago, and they did not disappoint in any way. It is hard to believe that they will pull off last year's numbers, but nonetheless, I am still expecting some very good returns on this one. In our almost top spot at number 2, we have Wall Financial Corporation with a ticker of WFC. They are based out of Vancouver, and they focus on developing, acquiring, and managing residential and commercial properties. They specialize in multi-family housing, sales, hotel property development, and management, mainly operating around the Metro Vancouver as well as the Lower Mainland. Their current price comes in at $24.88, and they have a market cap of $805.24 million. Their beta comes in at 0.71, so once again, less volatile than the market average. Their earnings per share come in at 0.73, and they have a price to earnings ratio of 34.08. That return on equity, a little bit on the lower side, 8.89%, and their debt to equity ratio, that comes in at 304.18%. It is high, but once again, in that financial sector, higher debt to equity ratios are normal. Now, these guys have no dividends, so we're going to jump right to their 3-year return on investment. That comes in at 47.31%. The 1-year return on investment, that comes in at 59.79%. And so far this year, their year-to-date comes in at 30.33%. This is a company that does keep popping up from time to time, and I admittedly have not invested in them thus far. Maybe that might be a mistake on my part. In our top spot at number 1, we have the Hammond Manufacturing Company with a ticker of HMM.A. Like the other Hammond company on this list, they are based out of Guelph, Ontario, and they specialize in designing, manufacturing, and selling electrical and electronic components. Their product range includes electrical enclosures, racks, cabinets, outlet strips, and transformers. Their current price at the time of recording came in at $13.62. They have a market cap of $154.37 million, a very stable beta of 0.69. Their earnings per share come in at 1.65, and they have a price to earnings ratio of 8.25. Their return on equity, that comes in at 21.83%, and their debt to equity ratio, not bad, 60.74%. They do have a dividend, so their yield comes in at 0.441%. It is a semi-annual dividend of 3 cents per share. That payout ratio, very low, 3.64%, so it is really, really sustainable. When we look at their returns, on the 3-year return on investment, that comes in at 467.50%. Factor in those tiny dividends, and we do get a total return of 474.17%. On the 1-year, their return on investment comes in at 157.47%. Factoring in the dividends, we get 158.86%. 66.60%. So far this year in 2024, their year-to-date comes in at 66.10%. Holy banana bread, you can't beat that. I do love both Hammond stocks a lot, and in 2023, HPS.A led the way, and this year, I have a feeling HMM.A will top the Hammond Hill for profits for sure. This one is the leader in my 0 to 100K challenge, and so far, I expect they will be very hard to beat. These are the big leaders thus far. When it comes to a growing share price in 2024, we will absolutely have to check in later in the year to see if they can maintain this momentum or if a few new companies can unseat one or more of the five. If you are interested in any of these stocks we looked at today, don't forget to put in a whole heaping helping of due diligence before you place any of your hard-earned money on the table. Let's continue that learning journey. Check out this video on narrow moat Canadian stocks, linked over there on the left, and I will see you in the next video.